Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show as we start off your Northeast Streaming Sports Day here, Thursday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Hall of Fame legendary boxing writer himself, Jack Hirsch, bringing you Sports Breakfast live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And to everybody, Jack, and everybody out there, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Mac. And Mac, Thanksgiving, does it mean this to you? You get to eat a lot of good food and watch football all day. Is that the highlight for you? Is that what Thanksgiving means to you, Mac?
That's one of the things, Jack. I mean, the biggest thing is probably being with your family. It's one of the holidays that hasn't changed over the years, like Christmas and Easter and some of the other ones, where it's really all about family and being together. So, as my dad said, was one of his favorite holidays, and it's quickly becoming one of mine too, Jack.
And I'm thankful I get to do this show with you, Mac, here. And it comes out Thanksgiving Day. We start a great week of sports with our show going Thursday through Sunday.
Yes, we do. Keith Hayes, happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you for
joining. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So, Jack, let's start getting into the sports here a little bit. Today, folks, in our second hour, to let you know, we'll be covering all the Thanksgiving games with our two guests. Two-time Super Bowl champion Jim Jeffcoat will be in to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, and media sensation himself, Captain Jack, the Raiders Nation spokesperson, will be in also. So we'll have them both on in the second hour, Jack, talking about the game today between the Raiders and the Cowboys, and we'll cover the other two games too. I guess you know something. There's something to be said about tradition, but when it comes to the Lions, I mean, the Lions have been playing in the Thanksgiving Day game since like the 20s when they were playing the Packers and the Bears. But I mean, sometimes when I see the seasons the Lions have, and I watch Thanksgiving, I'm like, why don't they pick another team? Why don't they pick Green Bay to host it or Chicago? Let them take Detroit's place. That's nothing against the Lions fans at all. It's just the Lions have been pathetic, Jack, for years. And I don't know why the NFL, that changes almost anything at any time, doesn't take that game away from the Lions, except for the tradition.
Mac, we agree completely. When I plan the Thanksgiving time, my wife asks me about what time do you kind of want to get started on Thanksgiving Day. If we're traveling to, let's say, her mother's, or we're having a Thanksgiving at our home or whatever. And I usually like it to be the earlier, the better, because there are 3 NFL games on. And as much as I love football, Mac, and I love football, I can't sit through 3 games in a row. I just can't. I mean, 3, that's a lot. To just sit there and watch, the TV. I mean, so I kind of like to have my Thanksgiving festivities early if possible, because the Lions are playing. Yes. Who the heck wants to see the Lions? They are sickening to watch on Thanksgiving. They are pathetic to watch on Thanksgiving. They're not good to watch at any time. Don't misunderstand me. But as far as football goes and Thanksgiving, there's nothing to be thankful for to see the Lions on Thanksgiving. They are absolutely pathetic. And to make it worse, Mac, at least if they were playing an elite, entertaining team, maybe the game would be watchable. But they're playing the Chicago Bears. And the big drama behind the Chicago Bears was whether they were going to fire their coach after the game. And the Bears took the drama out of that by, the GM saying, no, they're not going to fire Coach Matt Nagy after the game. It's a pathetic game. The Chicago Bears, who are hard to stomach, they're hard to watch, and all due respect to Justin Fields, he's exciting, but the rest of the team isn't for the most part. For them to play the Detroit Lions, I mean, you call that entertainment? Yeah. I'd sooner scan the channel and look for Honeymooner reruns, okay, than that. So football starts to me, Mac. Real football when the Raiders play the Cowboys in the second game. That's when I kind of get my engine revved up and ready to watch football. Otherwise, I'm just taking a glance on the screen.
Right, to see how bad the teams are doing at that time. Speaking of football, the Giants fire offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett. And my question to you, Jack, is if the Giants keep up their terrible play, are the shoes going to drop? I mean, are other coaches going to get fired? Is the GM going to be let go? I mean, where do the Giants go from here? So, we got Freddie Kitchens, offensive coordinator. We know how bad he was in Cleveland as a head coach. He's supposed to be a good offensive coordinator, as Jason Garrett was supposed to be a good offensive coordinator. So you got 8 games left, 7 games left, 7 games left. And if they continue this losing, are more people can get fired?
Not this year, not this season. At the end of the season, that's another matter. And the Giant ownership doesn't like to let people go if possible. They like continuity, and that includes the coaches. There are 8 games left. If the Giants go 4-4 the rest of the way, hypothetically, that might not seem to be so good, but it would be enough for Joe Judge to keep his job. And the Giant ownership, they like Dave Gettleman too. They're not that anxious to fire him. They just want to see improvement. Is there progress made? And you get the feeling with Joe Judge, when he first became coach a year and a half ago, it's not that he wanted Jason Garrett. He accepted Jason Garrett. The Giant ownership liked Jason Garrett because he was a former Giant. People forget, as a backup quarterback. Then he became coach of the Cowboys. And Jason Garrett's a very likable individual. I mean, even people who don't think he's a good coach, for the most part, think he's a good person, a good human being. He got along great with the Jones family in Dallas. And Dave Gettleman, he liked Jason Garrett. So they kind of sold Jason Garrett to Joe Judge, and he accepted him. And now Joe Judge, to his credit, to an extent, is thinking, if I'm going to get fired, I want it to be my way. Okay? I don't want to be held back. And let's be honest, against Tampa Bay, the Giant offense was really, really bad. I mean, they were putting us to sleep. There'd be moments during the year where Jason Garrett mixed up the offense, and it would look good periodically. But all in all, I mean, it hasn't really been working out. Freddie Kitchens running the offense. There might be a temporary surge, but let's see what the last 8 games bring. As much as we might like Jason Garrett as an individual, if the Giant offense comes alive the last 8 games and the Giants at least split for them, we see a little bit of an upward trajectory. But anyway you look at it, this year's been a nightmare. And I'm not so sure anyone gets fired at the end of the year. It all depends these last 8 games. If the Giants could go 4-4, I think Giant ownership will be willing to go forward with what they have once again.
In boxing, Jack, Golovkin came out and said the trilogy is still open in his mind. The question is it open in, here comes
Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez.
Is it still open in his mind? I don't think it is, Jack. I think he's willing to push on to other fighters.
I think if Canelo Alvarez fought Gennady Golovkin a 3rd time, Canelo Alvarez wins clearly, clearly, decisively. Their first 2 fights, most people think Golovkin won the first fight, and it was called a draw. The second fight, most people thought a draw was in order, and Canelo was given the decision. So Canelo's been the beneficiary of some favorable judging in his fights with Golovkin. And head-to-head, even though Canelo stands a 1 win, 1 draw, realistically, Golovkin got the better of it if you combine the 2 fights. Let's be honest about it. But Golovkin is close to 40 years old now. Close to 40 years old. And I've seen Golovkin fight since then. I've seen him fight in the Garden against Sergey Derevyanchenko. He was a little fortunate to get the decision, and Golovkin's best days are behind him. Golovkin is no longer a great fighter. At close to 40, he's a pretty good fighter, but he slipped enough where Canelo, should do a job on him. Now, in a way, Canelo doesn't want to fight Golovkin because he doesn't seem to like him too much personally. And it's about ego, not wanting to give Triple G, that an opportunity once again. Sometimes guys get a little stubborn that way if you hold the upper hand. The best way to get back at a guy isn't by punishing him in the ring. It's by punishing him by not giving him the big fight. And that would seem to be the case here. But I have to think as more time goes by, Golovkin's going to slip more and more and more. And that's going to favor Canelo. But there's a caution. December 29th, Triple G fights Ryan Murata, a Japanese fighter in Japan. Even though Golovkin will be favored, the fight's not an absolute lock, Mac. It's not a sure thing he's going to win. So if Golovkin loses that fight, it's a big blow to any chances of him getting in the ring with Canelo ever again.
Okay. In the NBA, LeBron gets some more fans ejected, Jack. The incident isn't really clear what was said, what was done. Of course, nothing was thrown on the floor. There was no threats that I know of or anything. It was a man and a woman. And the bigger question here is this going to become a thing? In other words, as a player, if you don't like what somebody's saying and you can hear it, are you going to just start removing fans from the arena? Now, I know in certain circumstances, Jack, it's justified. But now, are NBA players going to start, if they don't agree with what a fan says or a fan is booing them or yelling at them or trying to throw them off their game or whatever the case may be, now can an NBA player just throw a fan out because he doesn't like what they're saying? And the follow-up question to that is, I don't see Spike Lee or any celebrity who are very loud and obnoxious at some games getting kicked out of a game. So is this just for the average fan that's paying as much money as they are for a seat at an NBA game? Now they can't say anything? Don't you think this might go a little too far?
Wow, you make a great point, Mac. You really do with the Spike Lee example. I never thought of that. Spike Lee's a great fan. He's not a phony fan. He pays top dollars to see the Knicks there. He's very passionate about the team. But remember the time Spike Lee was giving it to Reggie Miller unmercifully on the court. Let's say Reggie Miller turned to the officials, and Reggie Miller was a star player, and said, remove Spike Lee. He's being obnoxious. He's doing this. He's doing that. Can you remove him now? But I'm not a believer that fans can just say anything they want. There's certain lines that can't be crossed. Mac, if you're a player and someone is yelling about your family on the court, okay, they have no right to do that. I understand there's a right to have them removed if they cross the line. Now, booing and relating it to a player's performance, that's fair game. I don't care for it personally to boo a player unless he's not hustling, he's not giving his all, he's not playing smart. If that's the case, you can boo him. But otherwise, I don't boo someone who's making the effort in there. But let's face it, fans come there, they like to harass players, they like to tease players. To an extent, it should be allowed. They should be allowed to get on LeBron to an extent. LeBron said they were making obscene gestures. My question is, why were you looking in the stands at them even?
Right.
So let's say they're flipping you the bird in the stands. Ignore that. Why are you even looking in the stands?
Right.
If they're telling you that you're a bum, if they're telling you you're not even in Michael Jordan's league, you can't even carry Michael Jordan's bag, that's fair game. Ignore that stuff. Now, if they're yelling something about his wife, his kids, now that turns into a problem to me. If you're making it something really personal, you have no right to do that. But LeBron said they were making obscene gestures. Why was he even looking at them?
And what the hell does that even mean? If they're giving a middle finger, they don't have a right to do that? Listen, Jack.
Who cares?
I know, I agree.
You want to know the truth of the matter? They're giving them the middle finger. They're making fools of themselves by doing stuff like that, if anything. But who's even watching them?
Exactly.
Outside of LeBron.
So my question is to you, since we don't know what they did, this is what LeBron says. LeBron can say anything. Did anybody else see them do that? This is my question to you, Jack. So now, is the NBA player going to dictate who goes and who doesn't go to a game? And I know they're not going to do that with everyone, but then people paid a lot of money to get down on those floor seats. There's no doubt about it. But now if another player, another sports figure, another actor, if he gives them the middle finger, is he going to kick them out too? I don't think so.
I think LeBron, I want to know exactly what was said, first of all. I mean, less and less, I'm becoming less and less of a LeBron fan as we go along. He's always getting involved in something, okay? Whether he's speaking a little bit out of line, maybe on a social issue, or whether he's speaking a little, or whether he had that big melee with Isaiah Stewart of the Pistons, and now there's always something. Enes Kanter criticized LeBron for his involvement with Nike. LeBron has been in the news for not direct, I don't want to say non-basketball activities, but not exactly for his skill level on the floor, okay? Yeah. And it's a continuous thing with LeBron, going on and on and on. He's becoming, a real lightning rod with things like this. And now I don't think it was necessary for LeBron to get into it with the fans, okay? Like that, have them removed. I mean, what were they doing exactly? Right. Exactly. Or there's a way LeBron could have handled it differently. If they were really bothering him a lot, really bothering him to the point where they were saying things they shouldn't have, he could have told one of the officials with the Lakers, look, this is really bothering me a lot. It's hurting me with these fans. They're getting too personal here. And the officials from the Lakers would do anything to accommodate LeBron. They would have gone up to the stands and said, you have to cool it, otherwise you're going to get removed. The fans would have been given a warning, warning.
Right.
And at that point, had they continued after they were given a warning by a Laker official, then maybe there would have been validation for removing them. But it seemed like it happened so quick. LeBron just says to security, you just remove them. Did security even look into what the fans did, or did they just go on LeBron's word? That's what I want to know. If they just went on his word, I've got a problem with that.
I got a big problem with that, Jack, because if he can do it, then any NBA player can do it. And now we got players kicking people out of the stands because they don't like what they're saying. And as you said, listen, if you're going to start talking about his family, his daughter, his wife, his kids, yeah, maybe they should be spoken to and then removed. But if you're just saying he stinks and F you, well, listen, grow the hell up and do what you're there to do. And I don't want to say just play basketball, but guess what? Every sport, people are yelling at the players. And if we're going to start removing fans, get.
What are we going to do? We're going to stop booing soon? I mean, we're not going to allow fans to boo.
Right. They just said they missed the fans in the stands, right? Did they say that when they came out?
Yeah.
Well, then go play with no fans in the stands. If that's what you want to do that. And then see how much fun you have. So, again, I just like to dig a little deeper in things because it's not just this one thing.
LeBron has had too much.
This is Matt, too times.
But with LeBron, it seems there's always something like this going on now. Always something like this going on. And listen, I'll be honest, in the beginning it was good that LeBron would get involved in things, social issues, basketball issues, talk. But he's gotten to the point where sometimes he carries things a little too far, okay? A little too far, at least for my liking there. And but this latest thing, having the fans removed. But before I'm condemning LeBron on this individual thing, I'd like to know exactly what the fans said. But we both agree the fans should have been warned, cut it out by an official there. And then if they continued, At least they were warned. They knew the consequences of what was going to be. If they were told you're going to be removed from the arena if you continue talking this way.
Yeah, well, I don't think we'll ever find out for sure what was said or done, because it could be one person's word against another. I haven't seen no video of any middle fingers, so I think it's a bunch of nonsense. So
I'm going to tell you something. I wouldn't necessarily believe LeBron's word if it was against the fans. I would be completely neutral, because LeBron's level of credibility, it's been taking a little bit of a hit,
So push it on. Let's get to the NHL update in the standings in the Atlantic Division. You got the Panthers, Toronto, Tampa Bay, Detroit in the top 4. In the Metropolitan, you got the Hurricanes, the Capitals, Rangers, and Pittsburgh Islanders have lost 7 in a row. In the Central, you have the Wild, Blues, Jets, and Avalanche. In the Pacific, the Flames, Oilers, Knights, and Ducks. Yesterday's scores, Jack. Locally, the Panthers beat the Phillies 2-1. The Wild beat the Devils.
Flyers. You said Phillies.
No, yeah, sorry, Philadelphia. I meant. Wild beat the Devils 3-2. Boston 5, Buffalo 1, and the Rangers beat the Islanders, who are missing most of their team.
I want to tell you a couple of things. I was watching some of the Ranger Islander game yesterday, and the Islanders have, a beautiful new arena. But it just seemed from watching on TV, one thing hasn't changed. New York's a Ranger town. Because the amount of support for the Rangers seemed to be equal to that of the Islanders in the Islanders' new building, because the Ranger fans tend to gobble up the tickets immediately. Okay? And, and what's the matter with the Islanders, Mac? What a tough year. They're losing 2-1. They score a goal on a redirected deflection. In the third period, they cut it to 2-1. You think maybe they could send it into overtime or whatever. And then the Rangers come right back a moment later, make it 3-1, and that basically was the game. And you look at the standings, and like you said, I can't believe the Islanders have lost 7 games in a row, and they're in a big hole now. You can no longer say it's early in the season and just brush it off. For example, the Washington Capitals, who are ahead of them, have 29 points. The Islanders have 12 points. That's 17 points. The Rangers are far ahead. Maybe a couple of teams are going to come back to the Islanders, in that division. Like the Rangers are playing over their head. They might come back down, and the Islanders might come back up. I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but the Islanders are in quite a hole right now. Speaking about leaving it late, I got to tell you, I was amused by what happened in the Minnesota Wild New Jersey Devil game that the Wild won in overtime. The Wild show up to the arena late. They got caught in midtown traffic, and the game is delayed a good half hour. Now, isn't that unfair to the fans? You get people, for whatever reason, they schedule the time they're going to see a game. There are no rain delays in hockey where the game's going to get delayed.
Sure.
And Lindy Ruff, the Devil coach, he pulled no punches. He said that was completely unprofessional of the Minnesota Wild organization to show up at the game late. Can you imagine what Tom Coughlin would have done? He fined guys for coming 5 minutes early, so the game gets delayed a half hour late. And think of the implications. One, the Minnesota Wild get there. They're rushing on the ice. They're not warming up the proper way, so they're increasing the chances of an injury. The Devil players who warmed up figuring they were going to get the game starting at the scheduled time, now they're cooling off. So now they got to warm up again, warm up, cool down, warm up, cool down. That increases an injury risk a little. And just the idea, you're coming, the game's delayed more than a half hour because you're caught in traffic. I mean, I would take away a draft choice if I were the league. I don't mean your top draft choice, but I would take away at least one of the lower draft choices to get a message. It's unacceptable to the organization. And I can understand if you had an emergency situation, there was a bombing or something near a parkway, and all of a sudden the whole city got detoured all of a sudden, something totally unexpected you couldn't plan for, but they just didn't plan for traffic. Are they kidding me? With GPSs and everything to come late, they're caught in traffic in the Midtown Tunnel? Come on.
I don't know.
The fans beat them there. The fans beat them to the game.
Well, fans normally are there when the players are there. If you've been to any football games, that's for sure. But anyway, I listen. I agree. Something should be done about it. I know about taking away a draft choice. It should at least be fined, and something should be taken. I mean, they got to leave a lot earlier if they can't make it there on time.
They came late. They didn't even. You should be there way early, way before the game. You should be there way before the fans settled in. And what I'd like the hidden cameras to see what time they left their hotel. They probably left. It's apparent they left their hotel late. And then there was massive traffic. Don't they know they're in New York City? Do they think they got Minnesota traffic, Matt?
I don't.
Matt, they probably thought they were on the Minnesota roads. So it probably moved nice and quick.
Jack with hidden cameras.
Tunnel, come on.
There's plenty of cameras at hotel. They don't have to be hidden, Jack.
I'll let them stay right in New Jersey. What the heck are they staying in Manhattan to get caught in the Midtown Tunnel? They probably hear all this talk about Newark, and they're probably scared and all nervous. Or maybe they wanted to sightsee in Manhattan. So they're turning it into a fun event. Oh, we could get a few hours sightseeing in Manhattan. Probably some of the players were sightseeing in Manhattan, came back late to the hotel, and they were waiting for them for all we know.
Don't know. But there is plenty of hockey on today, folks. If you choose not to watch one of the football games, hockey will be going full bore today. Another interesting thing was out of MLB, the Hall of Fame ballot has come out. Big Papi and A-Rod are in their first year of eligibility. Ryan Howard is one of the other ones with them. I think Mark Teixeira is too. There's quite a few of them that are up for the first year eligibility. It's a last year of eligibility for a few players, Jack. Bonds, Clemens, Sosa.
Well, we're going to discuss that in our debate show.
I knew you were going to say that, but we're going to talk about it anyway. It's in the news. And Schilling, because of his outspokenness, even though we only missed by 6.
Schilling said he wanted to be off the ballot, kick him off. Schilling is full of it, Matt.
Even though,
and I'll tell you why.
Well, let me finish, and you can tell me why. Even though we only missed it by 16 votes last year, and I know Schilling said he didn't want to be on. I understand that, but I don't want to talk about that right now. We'll get to Schilling in a minute. The only thing I want to say, Jack, is with Ortiz and Rodriguez, if they get voted in and Bonds and Clemens are not voted in, there's something wrong with the Hall of Fame committee.
A-Rod is not going to get voted in this year. I guarantee it. Okay? He will not be voted.
Same goes for Ortiz. If he gets voted in, if Big Papi gets voted in, there's something wrong with the committee because he was on a list just as much as Clemens was, just as much as Barry Bonds was. Now, Barry Bonds said he wasn't sure. Clemens denied it. So A-Rod has kind of admitted it. But if Big Papi gets in and Clemens doesn't, there's a problem with the committee.
Well, but listen, I'm not arguing any of this, Mac. I'm just saying it was confirmed that A-Rod, was involved with steroids. That was confirmed.
Right.
It was never confirmed with Big Papi. It was only strong suspicion. Bonds, it was confirmed, but Bonds said he didn't knowingly take anything.
Right.
And Clemens, even though virtually everyone you talk to feels he, was, involved with steroids, okay? And maybe heavily so. To Clemens' credit, at least, he did everything he could to try to prove he wasn't, even if people didn't believe him despite what he did. You can't do more than go to court to do this, to do that. So Clemens was trying to clear his name, but as said, people generally did, still didn't believe him, okay, at all. And should Big Papi be put in the same boat as the rest of them? I mean, can I tell you what? Listen, can I say this, Mac? Mike Piazza got into the Hall of Fame in his fourth year. I believe it was his fourth year of eligibility. Right. Let's be honest about it. If Mike Piazza wasn't under any suspicion at all, he would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. Would you agree on that?
I think so. I think I would agree with that, yeah.
Right. So why fourth year? What changed in the fourth year? They were suspicious but didn't have enough on them, or
well, I would have to take a look at the classes that he was up against when he was voted not to be voted, and I would have to see the players that were on that list. But the thing with Papi, now we talk about Clemens, the strong suspicion, right? There's no proof that we know of that he actually took the steroids. Probably did. But David Ortiz was a doubles hitter till he went to Boston later in his career, Jack. He was not a big home run hitter. And all of a sudden he's knocking the ball out of the park. So if you're going to say strong suspicion because Clemens got kind of stronger as his career went on, then you would say suspicion. Papi was on a list that all of a sudden he's hitting home runs instead of doubles when he got to Boston. He was not a big home run hitter, Jack. So if we're going to go under suspicion, then if Big Papi gets in, especially in his first year of eligibility, in fact, if he gets in at Hall, then there's got to be a decision made. As I've said before, anybody that you think or that might have been proven or almost proven that was on steroids, you put them all in. You can't have it one way for one player and one way for the other. And this what should be done. Let the fans decide.
I agree with you, but sometimes circumstances, and I'm not talking about the four players mentioned, sometimes we judge based on assumptions, circumstances. Listen, take Skip Bayless, okay, who does the show for Fox, who I don't have much use for. But during the time when Derek Jeter was playing late in his career, Derek Jeter had a resurgence late in his career at one point where he was hitting the ball all over the place. And he had a great comeback year where he hit about 315. He was an older player. So Skip Bayless mentions, well, we should think about the possibility of Derek Jeter maybe being on a performance-enhancing drug, or he inferred that. And people brushed it off because it was Derek Jeter. No one believed he would be on it. I didn't believe he was on it. And sometimes, players do things a natural way. They hit a natural way. But in the case of Bonds, Clemens, A-Rod, everyone believes, they were on it for the most part. Big Papi, it's a question sometimes, Mac, people don't want to believe something. They just don't want to. And Big Papi has such a good image, and he's been such an iconic Red Sox. People don't want to believe it. And if Big Papi doesn't get voted in, that's like saying you believe he was on it. Because obviously he's a Hall of Famer. And if you do vote him in, now all of a sudden he's under the microscope. And the other guys, was Big Papi in, but not the other guys. But I'm going to tell you what the problem's going to be. You vote Big Papi in. Clemens and Bonds aren't going to be eligible next year.
Exactly.
They won't be eligible. So now they go to the Veterans Committee at some point. And the Veterans Committee is made up of certain gruff old-timers. And those old-timers aren't going to want to be too forgiving. Let's say hypothetically, the ban on Pete Rose was lifted. And the ban on Pete Rose with the Hall of Fame is ridiculous and it's hypocritical. And if you need any evidence of that, Major League Baseball allowed him to get inducted into the Cincinnati Red Hall of Fame. Where's the ban there? And what he did, if they want to ban him from baseball, yeah, but to ban him from the Hall of Fame, one's got nothing to do with the other. But they gave Pete Rose a chance at vindication about 10 years ago or whatever. Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, wanted to see whether Rose had reconfigured his life. And if they saw Pete Rose wasn't into gambling anymore, was changed, and it turned over a new leaf, he would have gotten reinstated years ago. And that meant the Veterans Committee would have been allowed to vote for Pete Rose if they wanted to. And my feeling is, Mac, if the Veterans Committee was allowed to vote on Pete Rose now, they still wouldn't vote him in because they'd be.
Let me ask you a question. Major League Baseball supposedly has nothing to do with the Baseball Hall of Fame. Isn't that correct?
They're not supposed to. That's what makes the ban all the more silly. And what Major League Baseball did, as much as they hurt Pete Rose, they hurt the game so badly because for years, every time a player would get in, Pete Rose would have to line. Like, you know what Johnny Bench said? Pete Rose's teammate, and he wasn't that close with Pete Rose. When he got in the Hall of Fame, Johnny Bench said his induction was tainted. People would come up to him and say, "Congratulations, John, on getting inducted into the Hall of Fame." And the next thing they'd say, "Do you think Pete Rose should be allowed in?"
Sure.
So he had to deal with that. The other Hall of Famers had to deal with that. And they really screwed up. But getting back to Big Papi, you make a great, great point. Baseball can't hide from this one. If someone's going to vote for Big Papi, are they going to vote for Clemens and Bonds? Maybe it helps Clemens and Bonds this year. If one of them gets in, it would be because of Big Papi in part pushing them over the top. But wouldn't it be interesting if Bonds or Clemens gets in, but not the other one? I mean, because they're pretty equal as far as.
And listen, there's another Red Sox sitting out there that hasn't been, put in the Hall of Fame, and his name is Manny Ramirez, one of the greatest hitters.
He's not even close, Mac. Though
I know, one of the greatest hitters in baseball history. So,
Sammy Sosa.
Sammy Sosa also.
On their numbers, Rafael Palmeiro.
Yeah.
But Rafael Palmeiro's thing wasn't a substance abuse as far in itself. I think when you wag your finger at someone and, you wag your finger and then they see you lie through your teeth, it's, I kind of feel for Rafael Palmeiro. He made a mistake wagging his finger, telling people like this. Yeah, I forgive him for that, actually. Enough's enough. He had an error in judgment. You're a young guy still. You make a mistake. I think he has to be. I wouldn't hold that against him anymore, but people tend to do that. It's like with Bill Clinton. I did not have sex with that woman. You don't wag your finger, Mac.
Yes.
You don't wag your finger. If you lie, okay, it's easier to apologize. It's still bad when you lie, but you can apologize. But when you wag your finger, people don't even want to accept an apology. Don't wag your finger, Mac, on anything. That's the lesson.
So let's get to the NBA, Jack, right? The standings right now, the Nets are 2 games out in front of the Bulls, the Wizards, and the Heat's also in there. So the Nets, Heat, Bulls, and Wizard. And the West, you have the Warriors, the Suns, Jazz, and the Mavs. Last night's games, the Lakers beat Indiana 124-116 in overtime. The Hornets 106, Magic 99. Phoenix beat Cleveland 120-115. New Orleans Pelicans 127. Washington 102. Houston 118, Chicago 113, Minnesota 113, Miami 101. The Jazz
upsets.
The Jazz beat the Thunder 110-104. Bucks beat the Pistons 114-93. The Raptors beat the Grizzlies 126-113. The Hawks 124. The Spurs 106. The Kings beat Portland 125-121. The locals, the Nets beat up the Celtics 123-104. Guard Pat Mills led the balanced attack for the Nets, Jack, with 23 points. 3 of 5 of the starters, all with 20 points, at least 20 points. And Marcus Smart was the high scorer for Boston with 20 points, Jack. So the Nets get it done. with really all around basketball. They all chipped in and they played a good game. While Boston not playing so well.
Well, you know what it is with the Nets? I notice a little move that they should do to tweak the team. I mean, Blake Griffin didn't play last night. They've been starting Blake Griffin. He's been extremely average, extremely. Okay, but off the bench they have LaMarcus Aldridge, who's been a star in the NBA for years. There with San Antonio. Why don't they start Aldridge? Why does he have to come off the bench for Blake Griffin? I don't get it, at all. And, Mac, the NBA has so many good teams. Even the teams that aren't playing that well have upside. I mean, the 76ers are one game over 500, but Joel Embiid's been out. He comes back. They're going to be more of a force. The New Orleans Pelicans have been terrible, but Zion Williamson comes back. They're going to be much better. They won't be a pushover. I mean, there's so many good teams. The Phoenix Suns, losing 4 straight in the finals to the Bucks, you feel would be a downer for them. But they've come back with a vengeance. They've won something like their last 12 in a row. People don't talk about them because of Golden State. And with Golden State, with Klay Thompson coming back, they've been the best team in basketball as is. Are they going to take it another level? Yeah. The Clippers, no one seems to talk about them, but they have all this upside with Kawhi Leonard, when he gets it together. At the Lakers, the NBA soap opera team, obviously with LeBron. Russell Westbrook is great if LeBron and Anthony Davis are out. But he doesn't elevate the team, unfortunately. He's just, a great individual player. And look, you mentioned the Washington Wizards. Washington has one of the better records in the East this year because they made the deal for Russell Westbrook to the Lakers and the pieces they got back. That should tell you something. And the Lakers are struggling. Hey, listen, kudos to Carmelo Anthony. He's had this resurgence. His game still doesn't translate to me into winning per se, but he's been, great coming off the bench, being a spot starter for the Lakers. He's bought in, so kudos to him.
Definitely. Listen, he's up for that 6-man award if he keeps playing the way he's playing, Jack, for sure.
Yeah.
The 76ers kind of do their thing. They beat the Warriors. They lost to the Warriors. Sorry,
they haven't been doing that thing, Mac. That's the problem.
116-96. Seth Curry is the leading scorer for the 76ers with 24 points. Steph Curry's his brother had 25 for the Warriors, but that was without Embiid, Jack. So it's not like they were full strength, but they've been playing all right. Tyrese has been playing all right.
No, they haven't been playing well, really. The Sixers, not for them. They're hanging around, Mac.
That's what I'm saying. And Embiid's been hurt. And, of course, we know what's going on over there. They're going to I don't want to say a nut job. The guy with mental problems over there that wants
no. We can. Ben Simmons has problems. I don't want to question it. Yeah. I don't know whether he's gone through a form of depression. But it's interesting, the dynamics of the Ben Simmons situation with the Sixers is interesting because in most cases, teams tend to trade players like that. When a player gets disgruntled, uses the show, refuses to cooperate, they tend to trade him. The Sixers are holding firm. They're not going to do it. They say, you're under contract. If you don't want to be here, you just won't get paid. You don't show up, you don't get paid. And I'm assuming he's not getting paid. That's where, unless they, but sometimes you wonder in the case if a player has a mental problem, whether he gets compensated for it, if he has to sit out. If he has a physical problem, they've got to pay him. In the case of Ben Simmons, it seemed from the beginning he just didn't want to play for the 76ers, that mentally he can't handle it. He was so depressed being on the team, feeling he was getting blamed by the fans. that he just can't show up at the workplace. He just can't go through it. Mac, I've said this before. You must have had at least one job in your life that came to a point where you just couldn't tolerate it. Being at that place even for one day, it was so awful, it kind of bummed you out. You just had to get out of there, okay? And that seems to be the situation with Ben Simmons and the Sixers. The Sixers are maybe hoping he comes around, but I'll tell you this, you kind of wanted the trade value. And look, the Nets are going under the same thing with Kyrie Irving.
Two different cases, Jack.
Two different cases.
Kyrie wants to, he just wants to do what he wants to do. The problem with Simmons is that the 76ers has offered him help and he's refused it. So I don't want to hear that he's mentally hurt. I don't want to hear all that, Jack. The 76ers were willing to send him to get help. He refused it. He just does not want to play for the 76ers. I don't care if he was booed or his heart is broken or what that is. He's making a lot of money. Put your big boy pants on and go out there and play basketball and stop being a baby or don't get paid. Simple. I'm tired of talking about stuff like this with Simmons and other people. He's got mental problems. Yeah, we all got mental problems, and you can't compare their problems to people that work like me and you every day that we don't want to go to a job. Well, we're not getting paid $30 million a year to go to that job either, Jack. So that's not even a good comparison. So bottom line, 76ers are offered to send him to see a psychiatrist or a therapist. He has refused. So I guess his mental problems aren't that bad, Jack. So we
can't say how he's feeling, whether he's
I can say what I want. The proof is they offered him help and he doesn't want it. He wants to get out of it. He wants to not play for 76ers anymore.
Mac, but the problem is the Sixers. He doesn't want help from the people he doesn't want to be with.
There you go. So then,
the problem. I can understand if he didn't want to go to certain other teams, but it seems like Ben Simmons would be willing to have gone anywhere. Should the Sixers have traded him?
We'll see about that, Jack. If that comes up, I guarantee you, if they offer him to go to one of the last place teams, he's not going. I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Well, then he forfeits his right to any sympathy if that's the case. If he's trying to pick and choose.
Why would he do that? He's fine right now. He's fine right. Why would he want to go to Orlando or some team like that? Why? I mean, if I was the 76ers, I'd say, here, take his contract. Get the heck out of here. That would be me. Take his contract. I imagine.
That's why you wouldn't build a winner, Mac. You wouldn't build a winner. You would just get rid of the guy. You would pull any trade. You would take low-level draft choices. You wouldn't be building a winner, Mac. I take that. Ben Simmons is a major asset. You got to get something really good in return if you're going to trade him.
I take that 30 whatever million he's getting paid, and I'd pay it to somebody that wants to play basketball.
You would overpay another player because he had the enthusiasm to play basketball. Very nice, Mac. Very nice. You'd probably call the Knicks up and say, give us quickly as someone like that who plays one good game for every 3 he plays, okay? And you get all excited because he'd have a game where he put in 27 points one night.
I don't know, Jack, what I do, but I sure wouldn't be wasting my time with a person whose feelings are hurt, and he's supposed to be a full-grown man.
But also, Mac, you're the same guy who also says you shouldn't give in to these players just because they want to get traded. If they got a contract, tough. You got to stay here and honor that contract.
In certain circumstances, yeah.
I mean, as I recall, you were the one who condemned Aaron Rodgers more than anyone in the media. You were the one who attacked Aaron Rodgers.
I still condemn him to today, Jack. I'm not done condemning Aaron Rodgers.
Leave him alone. He has a bad toe. Leave him alone.
Little hurt toe out there. I know that hurts. I've had that before. It does hurt. But I played and I didn't get paid. But anyway.
I've never had a bad toe. That's the one thing, the one injury. Never had a bad toe, thankfully.
Real quick, Jack, before we get our break, I'm going to throw this in because I didn't do it last week. This is our Wall of Fame new boxing boxing guy that we just put in our Wall of Fame, and it's Bernard Hopkins, 55-8-2, called the executioner, strategic, speed, power, counterpuncher, defended Trinidad. Oscar De La Hoya ranked 7th all-time.
Mac, let me cut it off.
No, you're not going to cut me off. At 49, he was the oldest champion, and I think he was at that time fighting light heavyweight, if I'm not mistaken. So I told you what it said, what I read. Now you can cut in and say whatever you want.
Max ranked 7th all-time pound for pound. You got that listening. Some fool out there, some complete idiot who knows nothing about boxing, sat down and compiled a list and put it out there, and people Google it and they see ranked 7th all time. That makes about as much sense as me saying that Aaron Judge is one of the top 3 Yankee players of all time. Okay? That makes about as much sense. Okay? And Aaron Judge is a heck of a player. Terrific.
Yes, he is.
Just like Bernard Hopkins is a terrific fighter. Listen, Bernard Hopkins' legacy is this more than anything more. He fought effectively into an old age better than virtually any other fighter in boxing history. He kept it going, okay? He pushed Father Time to the limit. That's a great legacy to have. If I was to tell you the greatest fighters of all time who fought in their 40s, pound for pound, Bernard Hopkins would be on the short list. Maybe Bernard Hopkins would even be number 1. For him to push it from the mid-40s and beat some of the caliber fighters he did, like Antonio Tarver, Kelly Pavlik, guys like that when he was in his 40s was absolutely remarkable. Listen, I've seen him at ringside for a number of fights, Bernard Hopkins. He was magnificent when he beat Felix Trinidad. A great, great fighter, an old school fighter, really a defensive master. I wish he hadn't come back for one more fight in his career to end his career. Like he picked out Joe Smith, a much bigger guy, and it was a bad experience. But you can't deny all the things he's accomplished in his career. I mean, he beat Oscar De La Hoya, who was a smaller guy and maybe a little past this peak. But it still was a great win. He had something like 20 middleweight title defenses. I mean, a great, great fighter, an old school fighter. Okay, but his ability to fight into an older age, that was like remarkable. That to me is his legacy, what he was able to do at an advanced stage, much like Archie Moore, even maybe better than Archie Moore.
One question for you, Jack. In their prime, who would you pick to win, Marvin Hagler or Bernard Hopkins?
Good question. Great question, because Bernard Hopkins was a defensive master. I think he survives Hagler's attack. I really do. I don't think Hagler stops Hopkins. I kind of see it being a very close fight going to the scorecards. Hagler having enough offensive versatility to edge it out. But what bothers me about talking about fights like that, some of these fantasy fights, why do we always have to make it one and done? Why can't we say best 4 out of 7? Because I could tell you this, if they were going best 4 out of 7 like the playoffs, no one is going to sweep all 4. They win 4-0. I mean, one guy might win 4 fights to 3 if it was spread out like that. So I would say it's very close, but Hagler's drive, his this, his that, I kind of feel in a close fight, where neither guy would be overly effective. Hagler just edges it out very close.
All right, Jack.
Which says a lot for Hopkins, and it's a winnable fight for Hopkins, winnable fight.
I think so, too. I think it would be a great fight. So, folks, we're going to take our first break for today. On the other side, folks, we're going to start covering the Thanksgiving football games. We got a couple special guests doing. One's already here, Captain Jack, the the media sensation spokesperson for Raiders Nation, Jim Jeffcoat, should be popping into, and he just did, as I said it. So right after these quick breaks and quick messages, we'll be welcome in Jim Jeffcoat, two-time Super Bowl champion, and Captain Jack, who has never won a Super Bowl. So it's pretty even. So we'll be right back after this, folks. So let's see what I got. Let's do it.
Chock full of nuts is that heavenly coffee, heavenly coffee, heavenly coffee. Chock full of nuts is that heavenly coffee. Better coffee a millionaire money can't buy.
Merry Christmas! First of all,
when you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211-INFO-LINE. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
When the job is done, this guy'll be ready to dig into something mighty good to eat.
how do you handle a hungry man? The manhandlers.
One of the manhandlers is Campbell's vegetable beef. Gets a man-sized supper off to a good hot start. Good.
The manhandlers.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma.
I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
McDonald's is our kind of place. It's such a happy place. Happy place. A clean and snappy place. McDonald's is our kind of place. It's such a happy place. McDonald's is our kind of place. Your kind of place.
McDonald's believes in getting food to your kids before they get to each other. Such good food, too. McDonald's famous French fries, triple thick creamy shakes, lean beefy cheeseburgers and hamburgers, icy cold soft drinks. And here's a plus, spill-proof lids on all beverages. Another plus, napkins that are big as a bib. Quality, cleanliness, extra care service. That's McDonald's. A total value that's unmatched anywhere.
McDonald's is our kind of place. It's such a happy place. McDonald's is our kind of place.
Your kind of place.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Now we're getting killed.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle's not there. Customize and save at Liberty Mutual.
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, though, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show as we're on live Thursday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. We have just got done doing our sports updates, folks, and now we're going to start covering the Thanksgiving football games. And to come on with us, our special guest, Captain Jack from the Raiders. He's a media sensation. He's got a great YouTube channel, great show out there. And, of course, our friend Jim Jeffcoat, who comes on with us for a big football show every Sunday. So let's bring both of them up. How you doing, Captain? How's it going, Jim?
I will say this: they're two distinctly different looking gentlemen.
I think so. I really do.
Yeah, say, Captain, try and talk again. I don't know if I can hear you. Is your mic on, my friend?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Oh, come on, Captain.
Another pirate got his throat.
Yes. I think the Raiders have gotten to him. Come on, Captain. Check on your mic one more time. No, sir. Do me a favor, Captain. Pop back in real quick, and maybe that's it. Okay, great. So Captain will come back. Is out right now. I do have him on another line. That says Captain Jack Rackham on it, and it's just his insignia. So I don't know. Maybe he came in.
Actually, I want to be honest. I have to apologize. I hacked him.
You hacked him. So, Captain, if you're still listening, I do have you on another underneath. There, I heard him come in. Let's see if we can hear Cap now. Let's bring him up. Captain, go ahead and talk for us.
No,
not at all. I got you. I have you on another link underneath me with your insignia on it. Do you want me to try to bring you in on that? I got two windows with you right now. One with your face. Okay, let me go over there. Your insignia. There it is. See it now. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Darn. Oh my God, Captain. I was ready for you to come on and challenge Jim at every corner. You could try one more.
Mac, it's gonna.
He said call him.
I will. You got my phone over there, honey. Okay, I'll call you. I don't know if that's gonna help or not. I don't know if that will help. Send me your number real quick, Captain. If you got my phone link or the email link, and we'll try. All right. So anyway, we'll just pretend he's there with his insignia for now, and we'll see what happens.
Well, since Captain Jack is not here, I can say that the Raiders are having some issues the last two games.
Yes, they
and
are.
The Cowboys had issues only one game, so we're going to see who comes out of their funk this week.
Well, let's look at it real quick, right? You have the Raiders right now that are 5-5. The Cowboys are just 2 games ahead of the Eagles.
Yes.
So the Eagles have been kind of coming on. Dallas is they didn't look too good against Cleveland. I think this is Captain right here. Let's see. Captain, are you there? Captain? I can't hear him on the phone either. I don't know what's going on with Captain. Anyway, I think Captain's dodging you. That's what I think it is. I think he's dodging you. I think you intimidated him, Jim.
I'm sorry. I didn't do that. I tell him what, I'll stay for half an hour, then he can have the show and come on.
Okay, all right, sounds good. So again, Dallas has been having his problems, and it's surprisingly against KC that it was on offense and not defensively. They played pretty well. They had a little problem with the defensive line. The Raiders do have some games have had a good defense. Of course, they got Derek Carr that can come up and throw. He has a great. They do have a good passing game, and we're gonna give this
check.
There you go.
There you are. And now he just disconnected. I don't listen. He sent us for a while.
Mac, I mean, this is supposed to be a football segment. In the last 7 minutes, we talked 12 seconds on football.
Well, let's try one more time. Let's bring
one more.
All right, there you go, Cap.
Yeah,
we can hear you.
You got me?
Yes, we finally got you.
Okay, hey, I know I'm not just another pretty face. I got up early for you guys, okay? Right. My hair isn't even blown dry yet.
Yes. So Captain, this is Jim Jeffcoat. If you have never met him before, of course, you know him from his Dallas Cowboy days, defensive end. One of the, I say the best defensive end in Cowboys history. I mean, Charles Haley and Too Tall Jones might have a problem with that, but I'm gonna just say that
Harvey Martin.
Yeah, Harvey Martin too. Yeah, he's a good one too, Jim. But they don't have the records you have, and they didn't dominate. I don't think as much as you did. But that's my opinion. So let's look.
Hey, when I think of Jim, it's 77, correct, sir?
Yes, it is.
See, even Raider fans know how good you are because they know you by your number.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. So, Cap, let's get to
I'm a legend in my own mind.
Yes, he
Jack's
is.
mind too.
Yes. So, Cap, let's get to the Raiders real quick. They've been having problems lately. Offense ain't doing what they normally did. Their defense isn't playing up to par, but they're still 5-5. And they're still alive in at least a wild card race. They're only 2 games behind the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't look like the machine they were before. You're going into Dallas. Big game for you guys.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've seen the last 3 games live. I went to New York to watch that embarrassment up in New York. I went the last 2 out in Vegas. And as a realist, okay, I'm an analyst. I look at what I got in front of me team-wise. This team has checked out ever since the tragic death of Tina Tintor by Mr. Henry Ruggs. That just totally blew everything that was going on in that locker room. They were on a high after Rich Bisaccia took over the team from John, who shall not be named, and the only person named in 650,000 friggin' emails by the NFL, Gruden. Okay. And I'm not going to go into that, but I'm just saying the team was on a high. They were playing hard for Coach Bisaccia. They really liked Coach Bisaccia. Then the tragic events happened where Henry decided not to think, killed a young lady horrifically, and that team has been out and about. They checked out psychologically ever since. I want you guys to look at this, and it's true. First off, Derek Carr has not worn any Raider gear since Coach Gruden left. If you see any of his press conferences, he is not dressed in any Raider gear. That speaks volumes without saying a word.
That's interesting.
Let me go a word about Coach Rich Bisaccia. Shouldn't he be able to somehow rally the team if he's a really good coach? At least keep them focused, saying, look, it's your job. The bottom line is you have to come in and perform on your job. I know that by your personal feelings, but you have to be able to compartmentalize them with your job. And he hasn't seemed to be able to do that recently.
No, I mean, and Mr. Jeffcoat, I've never been in a locker room at a professional level, okay? I've never been in a locker room at a college level. I can only speak to what I am. You know, I am a gentleman that knows football, has played football, and knows what a team is supposed to be. You would think, as a professional, you would think that it's up here, it's your mind, it's your job, this is what I'm going to do. I have my 52 other shipmates with me in the locker room. Actually, whatever, that's 53 that's on the field at any time during the team. You would think. But if you have an important member of your cadre, which is your quarterback, is not performing, and I'm not saying that everybody's going to live and die with their quarterback. People can win championships despite their quarterback. Trent Dilfer with the Ravens is a great example because the team had a very strong identity on that defense, and they won in spite of it. Even the Tampa Bay fake Pirates in their first Super Bowl. Yes, I said that correctly, by the way.
The Chicago Bears with Jim McMahon.
Brad Johnson, there you go. Chicago with that killer defense because they had a strong identity.
Jim McMahon was a good quarterback. Don't put him in the Trent Dilfer category.
Well, if you think about it, what was the thing that Chicago did better than throw the ball? They ran the ball.
That Walter Payton, but he was a good quarterback, Jim McMahon.
He wasn't a great quarterback.
No, not great. No one said, but Trent Dilfer was mediocre. So don't put him in that level. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, all I know is that I'm looking at Derek Carr, and again, analytically, he's not there. And what it just totally infuriates me as a Raider fan is when a game is done, when you're 20 points behind the Chiefs and you're about, at least 2 touchdowns behind Bengals in garbage time, and you still see him out there playing, it infuriates you because you got Marcus Mariota on the bench that could possibly inspire to do something. I'm not saying that Marcus Mariota has the arm. I'm not saying that he is a better quarterback, but you know what the outcome is. And you have Derek Carr leading or allegedly trying to lead this team. All he does is throw a pick and he's in a fumble. He gets tied up in his shoelaces. It's horrible because I'm watching this. And I'm infuriated because I know what the Raiders could do. I've seen what the Raiders at their finest had done against the Ravens on opening night, blanking out the Steelers in their house in Pittsburgh, okay? And just totally whipping the Denver Donkeys. I've seen that, okay? But I'm telling you, this team has not been itself since the tragic events of the death of Tina Tintor. And again, I'm not a professional. I did not stay at a Holiday Inn. I'm at a Hilton, by the way. So, I can't say I stayed at a Holiday Inn and Express last night. But I know that as a professional, you would think that you would be able to do that, but this team is still not gotten its identity yet. And I think that when you have an identity established, then you can do that. But there's been a lot of things that have hit this team all at the same, near the same time. And it's one gut. Hey, a boxing analogy. It's one gut punch to another, and then the body blow, and then they go for the knockout upstairs. And I don't think this team has come back from that yet. And I'd like to see it. Hell, I travel all the time to watch my team play, and I want to at least see something competitive. And I haven't seen anything competitive the last 3 weeks.
Last Saturday I was in last.
Wait a minute. So, Captain, your offense with Carr, who played really well in the beginning, your defense played really well in the beginning. This is a game you need to turn it around. So, what would you do? Dallas has got a lot of hurt players. Their offense didn't look good at all last week. What do you guys got to do to turn this thing around today?
Okay, well, Dallas is without Amari Dropsy Cooper. We were actually kind of looking forward to seeing him, to covering him to shut him up, okay? But I don't know if CeeDee Lamb is going to play. You guys might have a better insight into that. If he doesn't play, it doesn't matter. They have a fantastic running attack by their 2 running backs there. And if the Raiders can hold up and hold the run, then I like their chances. And the other thing is, and I swear I'm not saying this because I'm just saying it out there, they have not called holding on Ngakoue and Crosby all friggin' season long. And if the officials would actually call a clean game, and Jim Jeffcoat knows what the hell I'm talking about. When these guys are holding you with impunity and you don't see any yellow flags, you're like, what do I have to do out here to get a penalty? We have some of the best defensive ends in the league. Up until a couple of weeks ago, Ngakoue and Crosby were 1 and 2 in defensive pressures, and they haven't been able to get to it. So they need to do that. They stop the run. They get after the quarterback. They can win the game because they have the capabilities on that team. Gus Bradley has made that defense a lot better, but it just hasn't materialized the last couple of weeks because the offense gives up short fields and then they're down 2-3 touchdowns.
First of all, what Kansas City did to Dallas was inside pressure with Chris Jones. Chris Jones obviously is a big man and he's very talented. And that's where the outside pressure didn't really get to Dallas. It was the inside pressure. Chris Jones had 3.5 sacks. So he had the inside pressure. And that's going all around the league. It's not just, unfortunately, it's just not the Las Vegas Raiders that are not getting those outside perimeter calls. There's very few. And I've argued with Mac and Jack about it. This is becoming more and more an offensive game. And that's my problem with it because they're not going to call it. So you got to figure out a way, like Micah Parsons did, of beating those guys outside, going underneath, maybe running more games and things of that nature to help yourself and making it more prevalent, the holding calls, because they're telling the refs are so worried about taunting, they're not worried about holding right now. And that's just the things that are happening. And on the game today, yes, if the Cowboys can run the game, but the big thing is can those if the Raiders say, if Gus Bradley goes and says, we're going to man them all day, can the Cowboys get off of man coverage, press coverage? If they're pressing them and beating them up at the line of scrimmage, there were calls, obviously, in the game last week where there was definite holding down the field and they didn't call it. That's just a part of the game. But if the Cowboys, if they use the same game plan that Denver did and the same game plan as Kansas City, that's going to have to make some plays, and those receivers are going to have to get off of press coverage because that's what people are doing. You can say what you want about Amari Cooper, but he can beat press coverage, and that gives them the advantage.
Well, he ain't beating it today unless he's coming out of COVID protocol.
And he's not.
I'm going to tell you, the NFL is about auditioning, and I think at Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, the Cowboys, this is an opportunity for him to shine with Cooper out, possibly Lamb out. If the Cowboys could do a lot of creative things on offense, there are going to be some head coaching jobs open, notably probably with the Chicago Bears, for example. And if you could really work with a young quarterback, be that type of coordinator, so that it's more than just the players. I'm kind of observing Kellen Moore, how creative he's going to be. I mean, last week they actually came a little close against the Chiefs. They're breaking some plays. The 9 points total looked bad. But there's a lot at stake, I think, for Kellen Moore, you know.
There's a lot at stake for both teams.
Yes.
There's a lot at stake because just like Max said, Cowboys only have a 2-game lead at this time. And they're going to have to start playing better because in the next couple games after the Saints they have to play the Redskins twice. They have to go to New York and they have to go to Philadelphia. And then they come back and their last game is against Arizona. So, they got to win the games they're supposed to win. And this is one they should win.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, I was just going to say that I think Gallup is going to be more important and your tight end this game than they've ever been this year. I don't think Lamb's playing today. So that's a check in the Raiders box. If the Raiders can take advantage of that, they can.
They say CD's probably he practiced on Wednesday.
Well, we'll see. Well, maybe he does, but we'll see. But he's still not going to be 100%. And I think Dallas is going to have to use a tight end a lot this game, a lot more than they have been recently. He was doing really well for a while, and they've forgotten about him. So I think they're going to have to have to use him more. Zeke's a little banged.
I think they're going to have to run the ball.
Zeke's a little banged up. Zeke is a little banged up too. So that's another thing, another check in the Raiders' favor. I'm not saying the Raiders are going to win this game, but I think this is going to be the best of the 3 games today. Lions and Bears are going to be almost unwatchable, and I don't think the Saints are going to do anything against the Bills today. I really don't. I think the Bills are going to come back and blow them out. I think this is the game. I think this game could go almost either way, and both teams have a lot at stake.
Yes. And you're right. They both have a lot at stake. But I think the Cowboys do have some depth at the wide receiver position, and we've seen that. Gallup is going to be a key part of this, but the tight ends, Schultz and the other tight ends are going to be crucial in there. You have two running backs that can make plays, and that's where you got to, because if you think you're going to sit back there and throw it 50 times against the Raiders, just like Captain Jack said, those two defensive ends are licking their chops. They want you to throw it 50 times because percentages say they're going to get to you regardless, and they're going to get some holding calls. They're going to get some. So this will be interesting. It'll be an interesting game. Although,
Jim, to your mouth to the officials' ears, make sure that they heard you just say that they're going to get some holding calls. I'm just letting you know.
I don't know.
Games are weird because your body is basically, you didn't practice all week. You're still recovering because usually Wednesday is your first practice of the week. And you just got to get your body, your mind in the right frame of mind. And it's easier being at home, obviously, than going on the road because it messes you up. You had to travel yesterday. So you're in a strange place. You're not in your bed. Then you got to go and play a game for the Raiders. It's 1:05 in the afternoon. So, or 1:30. So it's a little, there's a lot of things that you have to get used to. You say, well, they're professionals, but you have routines that you go through. And now you have to change those routines, especially on a Thursday night game or a Thursday afternoon game, as opposed to a Thursday night. It's more difficult.
Yeah, I agree.
How much film study, Jim, can a player do on a short week? Because this is an extremely short week for both teams. Do you basically just rely on your experience and take it as it goes?
That's a good question, Jack. But most of the time, from my coaching we prepared on bye week for the teams that we played on Thursday. And you said from a player standpoint, so we had to get that information as soon as the last game was over. We started getting that information. We had to build the game plan and have it in because you practice on Monday and it's a walkthrough, but they have to understand what their key plays are, what they like to do, what they don't like to do. We have all the personnel, and you don't run through it. You basically walk through it to get your team prepared for the game. So you don't have as much study as you normally do, but you can, the way technology is today, you can send it as soon as the game's over. You don't even go back. You won't even see Kansas City. You start going on the Raiders. Hey, this is what the Raiders do. You start sending them clips of what they do. And the same thing with the Raiders. You start sending them clips of what the Cowboys do and how they're going to, this guy is the guy we got to be aware of on offense or defense and things like this. This is what their main coverage is. And they can change up things because obviously you're going to make some adjustments, but everything has to be up-tempo or faster pace because you don't have as much time.
Well,
Happy Thanksgiving, Jason.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody and Jason. Listen, I think one big key here, and Captain Jack talked about him in the beginning. If Derek Carr can go deep on the Cowboys, if he has enough time to go deep on the Cowboys, this game, you got a lot of risk takers back there in that defensive backfield. And I think that if Derek Carr can have success going deep today against you guys might be down fast and force the Cowboys to play catch up. That would be the best scenario for the Raiders, right? Because you want to run the ball if you're the Cowboys. If Derek Carr,
you could say the same for if Dak could hit on some of those deep passes. Think about it. If he would have made that, if they would have got that reception on the first pass against Kansas City, that Gallup, he overthrew Gallup, that's a touchdown. So
yeah, I mean,
either way.
Go ahead, Jack.
I think they've been trying to keep Zach Prescott in the pocket more, and he seems to be a little antsy, like he wants to be able to take off and have the option to run when he feels like it. That's the impression I'm getting, that he's getting a little antsy. They're kind of like holding him back. Their injury concerns, of course.
So to be, and no homership here. Captain, what do you think the final score is? Who wins this game between you two?
If the Raiders that have played the last 3 weeks come out, okay, and the Cowboys who actually played decent on one or two of those games comes out, I don't throw scores out there. I throw like spreads and percentages. I've seen, like I said, the Raiders had been down like 20 points the last couple games, Now, granted, it's a lot of it was in garbage time when they knew that they were down. You know, it's going to be a double-digit loss for the Raiders. If the Raiders can come out and run the ball, and everybody's talking about run for the Cowboys, but remember, the Broncos came out in 12 personnel with 2 tight ends and just whooped them, okay? Yes. The Raiders have 2 fast tight ends in Waller and Moreau, and if they use them effectively, go look deep over the top when it's there, but they need to run Jacobs. They need to run Drake. They need to run whoever the hell's back there. Losing Ingold at their fullback really hurts because he was a good, a great, excellent lead blocker along with that guy who runs like a nice circle route out of the backfield. Losing him for the season definitely hurt the Raiders, but if they could run, you got to be able to run, chew the clock, and make sure that Derek doesn't overthrow all these guys, because I've just seen him overthrow people the last 3 weeks when he had the opportunity. And, oh, by the way, there was a new addition to the Raiders by the name of Deshaun Jackson, who has 1 reception and an immediate fumble. And I saw that. That just tore my heart out seeing that against Kansas City.
All right.
So the Raiders need to get their heads together. They have the capabilities to win this game. If the players that played at the beginning of the year come out and play, they have the capabilities to win this game. The question is, which team shows up? I say that every week. Which team shows up? And I'm hoping that somebody goes up to Derek Carr and the rest of this team and smacks them around a bit and says, hey, you're a football player. You are a Raider. Get your head in the game. This is Thanksgiving. This is national TV. I'm ready for it. I'm going to be up front. If you don't see me on camera, then some of the cameramen need to wake up because I'm going to be in an available area. Jim, make sure you talk to some of these cameramen and say, hey, Captain Jack is available in the end zone, okay?
Okay.
I got my Hawaiian shirt on for you guys, but I'll be fully dressed out. I'm going to be ready. The Raiders need to be ready. I want to see something because if they don't play today, you know, stick a fork in them, put them in the ground, bury them, because this season is definitely over, and that's a shame considering what this season could have been or could be, depending upon what team we will see.
Well, Captain, Jim said that on the show with us that if you play physical with the Cowboys, they have problems. If you run the ball, he mentioned Denver. What do you say to that, Jim? How do you stop that running game of the Raiders? And of course, if it's working, the play action pass is working. It could
very true.
It could get messy.
The problem you have with it is just what you said, the tight ends. But the tight ends are not going to be as effective as the receivers, obviously. Waller is a special player. We all know that. But I think he's had some injuries lately, hasn't he, Captain Jack?
Yeah, he's been playing through it, and that's why you've seen an emergence of Foster Moreau, who is a fantastic kid.
Yeah, so that's the thing. And if they can control the running game, and how they control it is they might have to put an extra guy in the box. And that means that we're talking always about these corners and how good they are. Brown played better 2 weeks ago, and he really didn't play bad in the Kansas City game. Obviously, the other corner is up for we're going to find out. We got to put him in a man coverage. We got to put him in there and see what he can do, because we're going to need help with him. And those safeties have got to play really well, because just like Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacob can change games. And if they get their play action game going, it's going to be a long day for the Cowboys. So the Cowboys are going to have an extra man in the running game. You know, and that's the same thing that the Cowboys have been talking about. They're going to have to run. Zeke said this week, they got to get their running game going. And he is the catalyst of that. He's got to play like he did 2 years ago, not like last year, not like he's playing this year. And he plays okay at some points this year, but this is probably one of their biggest games that they've had this year.
Jim, Captain Jack mentions a good point. National TV, Thanksgiving Day, 4:30 starter, so meaning the eyes of the nation are going to be focused on this game. This isn't just another Sunday afternoon game. Everybody is watching this. Even people who aren't football fans are going to be eyeing the TV, you know, with their loved ones when the TV's on. don't tell me the players don't get just a little more motivated for a game like this than they would for another Sunday afternoon game.
Well, what I was going to say about that, Jack, and I was going to mention that, is first of all, when you play 12 o'clock games, it's kind of a little bit, people in Texas, the South, are coming from church. But those 3:30 games, they done had enough time to get their bellies full. They done drink a little bit. They're going to be loud. They're going to be rowdy. That stadium is going to be alive. The stadium is going to be alive because, they're ready for it. Now they're ready for some football. And that's what it is on all the afternoon games as opposed to the morning games, more energy. And those fans are going to have to give the Cowboys energy. And they're going to, that's the thing. That's the thing. They're going to give energy, and that's going to help the Cowboys. Just like you said, you get a little bit motivated because you want to go home after the game and have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Jim, you're right. I'm going to be eating during the Lion-Bear game. That's what I scheduled in with my wife. We're having festivities. The TV could be off for that. The TV doesn't have to be on for the Lion-Bears, but I'll be ready for the Raiders and Cowboys, and then the Bills-Saints to follow.
There you go. Well, Captain and Jim, thank you for taking time out of Thanksgiving to stop in and say hi to us. We appreciate having you both on. Everybody check out Captain Jack's, his show over there. You don't know Jack about sports, great YouTube show, great on everything. He's great over there. Go ahead and call up the show, say hi to him, check him out. And, of course, Jim has his own show called J&B Talking Shop with ex-NFL star giant wide receiver Byron Williams. They're on every Wednesday night. Guys, thanks again.
You guys have a show? You got a show with a giant wide receiver? Who takes the pills for that?
Well, there's somebody that set up this show that is a huge Giants fan.
Yes.
He is and that's what happened. He said the only way I get a show is I got to have a Giants player on there.
That's true. That's true. And they are.
Now they got me with a jet man too.
and they are good friends. They live in the same state and everything. But anyway, guys, thanks for stopping.
Pinhead, but I like him.
Yes. Thanks for stopping.
Hey, Jim, come on my show anytime, brother. I tell you, like I said, I enjoy the banner. I let folks run wild. I even clean up the curse words for Mac. Okay. And he knows I do because I go through the editing and I tell people, stop swearing. I got to do the cut-ups at the end of the show, and I work for a living afterwards, and it just keeps me up at night with all these edits. But I will do edits. We will have a great time. Mac knows that I do a decent job with that.
I want to come on your show.
All right.
Please do.
Hey, did you see Jack in Vegas last week? He didn't invite me in.
Let me tell you, I rode by on the way to the Crawford Porter fight. I didn't realize where Reliance Stadium was. We passed the stadium, and the cabbie is starting to say, yes, the Raiders play here tomorrow. And I told him, you don't realize how the rest of the country looks at your team. I mean, they don't look as fondly on your team as you do. And the cabbie says, no, they don't. They seem to be oblivious to it. But whatever. But then the next day, of course, they got beat up by the Bengals, and I was going to stay for the game. I was 50-50, but I decided to fly back, that morning, and I'm kind of glad I did.
Hey, I'm going to get to the Death Star. I got to go to the Death Star. Everybody got to see
make sure Jim has my number. He comes out to Vegas when I'm not there for Christmas, but I'll be there for a couple other games. You come out with me there, brother, and we will have a great time. Trust me.
All right, Jim. And make sure you wear a tight shirt so you can intimidate everybody there and they don't bother you. You know how them Raider fans can get. You know what I mean?
Hey, I got my cowboy blue on today.
There you go.
I'm going to tell you, Jim's only been intimidated. Jim and his family, only one stadium has intimidated the Jeffcoat clan. That's Philadelphia. That's the only place. Yeah. They're not intimidated nowhere else.
But my brothers held the guy over the rafters, so they must have.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Have a great Thanksgiving.
All right.
We'll see you
Happy
soon.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks for stopping.
Happy Thanksgiving, you guys. Take care.
Take
There
care.
you go, folks. So, Captain Jack and Jim Jeffcoat both stopped in off their busy days to check out us and stop in and break down the game. Of course, they'll be busy. I don't know if Jim's going to the stadium today or not. I know he goes to most of the home games, and Captain Jack goes to almost every Raider game. He's a great guy, does a great job over there at there. So Jack, let's take our last time out. We still got we haven't gave our picks yet. We've got two other games to get to, and we'll get to that, folks, as soon as we do these two quick messages. I'm always you know how I am, Jack, right? I'm always looking for my official timeout. There she is. And we'll put up.
No comments, Mac. Once where you think we're on a timeout, you tend to groan and make some type of comment. And if you do, don't say anything about me on the hot mic.
Listen, Jack, I would never say anything about you. We'll be right back after these messages, folks.
To be a frito bandido like me. You do. Then you must sing the bandido song. Let's sing together. You just follow the bouncing Fritos corn chips bag. Ay, 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 ay. I am the Frito Bandido. I like Fritos corn chips. I love them, I do. I want Fritos corn chips. I'll get them from you. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, I am the Frito Bandido. Give me Fritos corn chips and I'll be your friend. The Frito Bandido, you must not offend. Now, boys and girls, you are Frito Bandidos too. You sing the Frito Bandido song, and you loco for crunchy Fritos corn chips. That's nice. Munch, munch, munchy, 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 corn chips.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get any...
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on live, 8 to 10 a.m., Thursday through Sunday. Today, folks, we're doing our special our football hour for the Thanksgiving games. And we just had Captain Jack and Jim Jeffcoat on to break down the Raiders and the Dallas Cowboys after Captain Jack fooled around with his computer 100 times. I think he's worse at it than me. He always seems to have problems when he does his show over there with audio or something. But anyway, Captain did get it together. We did break them down. And Jack, what is your pick? I mean, you got the Raiders against the Cowboys in Dallas. It's a late game, as Jim said. The Raiders do have the capability to play really well. Dallas, of course, is the powerhouse of the NFC East right now, even though I think 2 out of the last 3 games, they haven't looked that good. What do you think is going to happen?
I mean, I can't believe the Raiders are going to continue playing as poorly as they have in recent weeks. So I look for a bit of a bounce back game for them. I look for a bounce back game for the Cowboys as well. I actually think it's going to be a close game. The Cowboys are favored by 7.5. I think the Raiders are going to cover, but I think the Cowboys will win the game. There'll be moderate scoring, something like 20-16. You know, with Amari Cooper out, CD Lamb questionable, you kind of wonder how effective the Cowboy passing game is going to be. But I think they should be able to run the ball, should be able to do enough to win the game. But I think the Raiders are going to hang in, you know, and they'll cover the points.
Yeah, I believe they'll cover the points. In fact, I think they'll upset the Cowboys today. I think the Cowboys played really tough against San Fran. I think they gave it everything they had. I don't think the Raiders even played Cincinnati last week. And
Well, against the Chiefs. Well, the Cowboys hung in against the Chiefs.
that's what I said. They played pretty well against the Chiefs, but the Raiders checked out against Cincinnati, no doubt. And I think they were embarrassed, and I think they get it together. You might see, Mariota in there. We'll see what happens. But I know Derek Carr has the arm. That's for sure. And if he can get a couple over the top and they can run the ball against the Cowboys, which I think they'll be able to do, I think that the Raiders upset the Cowboys here. We'll see what happens.
But you also wonder whether the Raiders have checked out or checking out, because with all the personal drama that has unfolded with their team, you just kind of wonder, is it the degree of the players being a little fed up and they maybe not being as united as they could? You wonder what's going inside the locker room with the tragedy, what happened with the young woman who got killed by Henry Ruggs there, you know, his restlessness behind the wheel, recklessness, I mean. It's, you know, that could divide a locker room, because, you know, it could divide a locker room in various ways, put it down.
There's no doubt. I think it's a terrible idea to have a team in Las Vegas because of all the distractions out there. We're talking about distractions like no other city has. You can even put New York in there. That city is open 24 hours a day, especially at night. And I don't think it was a good idea to put the Raiders there, but that's another subject. So the early game, I know you really don't want to talk about it that much. I don't think a lot of people do, but we got to make a pick. You got Detroit against Chicago. Detroit hasn't won a game yet. Chicago does not look good at all. They got Dalton back. He's experienced against Detroit, who has played good at some points in the season. They have given teams, especially from the AFC North, all they could handle. Does Detroit get their first win?
I think isn't Justin Fields playing? He's eligible to play.
I think he's hurt, Jack. From what I understand, from what I read this morning, Dalton is starting.
Unless you heard that from this morning. Okay. Because it was interesting, because I heard Justin Fields had been practicing and they thought he could be ready. So I was going under the assumption that Justin Fields would actually get to play. But, you know, you might have this scenario where even if Justin Fields is ready to play, they might feel at this point in the year, kind of save him. He's a young quarterback. Why rush him in this week? You know, and if that's the case, if Andy Dalton is starting, it's kind of a big opportunity for Andy Dalton again, because he was supposed to be the start, and then he got hurt early in the year, and they went with Justin Fields and haven't really looked back. You know, the drama with the Bears is the Matt Nagy situation. There was talk, a report that came out, I don't know how, that he was going to get fired after the Thanksgiving game. I didn't believe that, because if they were going to fire someone, they were going to do it on the spot. They weren't going to say, well, we're firing him after the game, okay, to just make up their mind. Lions haven't won a game. They played one tie with the Steelers this year, but the Lions have their own drama at quarterback. It's like they want to replace Jared Goff, but they have no one to replace him with. Their backups aren't nearly as good as Jared Goff. At least with certain teams, the backup, like you mentioned with the Raiders, Marcus Mariota, he could be a viable threat conceivably to Derek Carr if Derek Carr doesn't play well. But no one's really a threat to take over for Jared Goff right now. If the Lions had a quarterback like an Andy Dalton, perhaps. With that said, I don't look for much of a game. I look for a very low-scoring game. I know it's tempting to pick the Lions to win their first game of the year, but I'm going to go with the Bears in a squeak of 14-13. And the Bears are favored by 3 points. So, once again, in a game like that, I would actually take the Lions in the 3 points if I were betting. But straight out, I'm going to go with the Bears and a squeaker to edge it out, by a point or so.
You spoke of Nagy getting fired after the game. There is a reason they would do that, because they're not playing Sunday. They got a whole week and a half to get a new coach in there, or interim coach to get the team working with the team. They got the extra days to do that. So that does make a little sense. I don't know if he's going to be fired till the end of the year or not. I like that the Detroit coach still has that locker room. That's the only reason why I'm going to pick Detroit today. I think that he has that locker room. They've played a lot of good teams tough. I don't think Chicago is good. And I think that if Detroit's going to win a game this year, it's now in their game that the NFL seems to want to let them have every year. This is their Super Bowl. I think they have a shot at beating the Bears. If they can't beat the Bears, I don't know who they're going to beat this year. I'm going to go with the coach of the Detroit Lions, having a grip on that locker room where Nagy, I don't think, does. So I'm going to take the Detroit Lions and upset just on the strength of the coaching. So I'm going to go ahead and take Detroit. As you said, it's very tempting.
It's tempting with the Lions, but there have been other games this year where we thought the Lions are finally going to win a game, that it seemed like a winnable game to them, and then they just fell flat. I mean, I remember the Philadelphia Eagle game. They were playing at home. It seemed, this could be the time the Lions finally win a game that they're due. They're playing the Eagles, and they got blown out 44-6. So you could never tell.
I don't think the Bears are even close to the Eagles in talent or as a team. I picked the Eagles to easily beat the Lions that game, because the Lions, the Eagles weren't going to take them for granted like the other teams did. But the Lions showed me something with the tie against Pittsburgh, who I think is also better than Chicago overall. And I think they showed me something with that tie. I think, Jack, with that coach, that emotional coach, Nagy doesn't have a grip on that locker room, I don't think. And even with Dalton starter, which should help Chicago a little bit, that they got an experienced guy back there, I just think that the Lions are going to win a game. This is the game they're going to win. So I'll take it.
And the Lions, too, they lost on a 66-yard record field goal that hit the crossbar against the Ravens.
And they only lost 3 against the Browns, Jack. They've been playing the AFC North tough. And I'll tell you, any one of those teams are better than the Bears. So that's why I'm going to go with the Lions, even though they'll probably let me down.
But I kind of wonder whether the people in Detroit want the Lions to start winning, because the Lions are going to be in need of a quarterback. And let me explain. The Lions are now in position to get the number 1 overall pick in the draft, meaning...
Is there a quarterback in the draft?
Is there a quarterback in the draft? You kind of nailed it last year in a way that people didn't, and it was thought-provoking. Everyone was talking about the best quarterbacks in the draft, and you said, Mac, okay, they might be the best quarterbacks in the draft, but it doesn't mean that they're that good, okay? Right. And you weren't overly impressed with the crop of quarterbacks in the draft last year, and the jury's still out on them, but, we'll see. But the Lions definitely in the market for quarterback. You go number 1 overall, all you need is one really good quarterback in there. It doesn't have to be a big class. You could just take the best. But if the best isn't that good, what do you do?
Exactly. I mean, look at the number 1, 2 top quarterbacks taken in the draft last year. A lot depends on the team you drafted to. And that doesn't mean that the Lions are going to, set the league on fire if they get a good quarterback, which I think Jared Goff is a good quarterback. I don't think he's great, but I think he's good.
Serviceable. He's a decent quarterback. Look, he might have the career that could conceivably be similar if he keeps playing to the guy he's competing against today, Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton was a good, solid quarterback with the Bengals. Nothing exceptional about him. He was a he was a game manager, but you kind of want quarterbacks who could be game changers. Okay, we have those in the NFL. Nanny Dalton was never a game changer.
There's very few and in between of game changers out there, Jack. As you know, the best quarterbacks in the league are on teams, and you can name maybe 5 of them that could change a game for you. 6 at the most right now. There's not that many. The rest of the 32 teams, and that's a very small percentage, aren't game changers or game managers, and they got to have a team around them, and that's the tough thing.
You take certain divisions like today, like the NFC East. Dak Prescott's the only quarterback in the NFC East who could be a game changer. He's that good. Yeah, definitely.
Hurts possible.
You even look at the AFC East. Josh Allen of the Bills is a game changer. Mac Jones, not yet. He's a game manager. Sure. Tua's a game manager for the Dolphins. Zach Wilson, the jury's out altogether on him. He hasn't gotten started. And it depends. And, you look at the other games today with the Saints. I mean, their quarterback situation's muddled. So they have, they just re-signed Taysom Hill to some type of extension with clauses in the contract, which indicates to me the Saints haven't given up on Taysom Hill potentially starting for them next year. Jameis Winston had the terrible injury. He might be welcomed back into the same fold to see whether he could still quarterback them, but they're not sure about him. And there are a lot of teams, as much as we think they have franchise quarterbacks, they're going to move around. The Washington football team, they're not going to come back with Heineke as their quarterback next year.
I would say, Jack, I don't agree with everything you said there. In fact, I agree with only a half. I think Heineke, if he plays well out the end of the season, I think he'll be back as the quarterback of the Redskins. He's been playing pretty good the last 2 games. We're going to see. I don't think right now in the college, I can't see for the next couple of years a game changer out there. There's a couple of young kids in high school that are just getting started that I think could possibly be it. But as I follow college football, the only thing you see is quarterbacks on smaller schools and smaller divisions that are playing pretty well. And then you got the ones at the top level, but they're with the top level team. So it's hard to pick one out. You knew Peyton Manning at Tennessee was going to be a good quarterback. You could tell Tom Brady at Michigan could bring a team back. There's certain quarterbacks that you could look at.
You couldn't tell that in Michigan with Tom Brady because he went.
Well, listen, Jack. He had a great. He led his team back to few victories, especially.
But he was drafted in the 6th round.
I understand that.
He wasn't considered an elite prospect.
Jack, I'm saying if you watched him play in college, you could see he had a little bit of magic there. Joe Montana, you could see he had a little magic with Notre Dame. You could tell if you watched the player and you watched the game that they had certain leadership qualities. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. You watched them in college, and a lot of them didn't play for big schools, and the ones that did might even be backups. That's why I think Hurts last week took control of that game, running and passing. He had a great game. He has an opportunity. We'll see how he does the rest of the season. But he kind of took control of that offense last week. I was a little impressed with him, more impressed than I've ever been with him. But as far as the Saints go, you got to sign that dude. The dude plays running back. He plays quarterback. He plays tight end. He plays on special teams. The guy is good at everything.
Well, they did sign Taysom Hill, so he has the extension. So they do have plans from one way or the other because he's versatile.
Yeah, and unbelievable at all positions. Quarterback, not the greatest, but serviceable.
Well, you wonder certain teams going forward, like the 49ers invested so much in Trey Lance. But Jimmy Garoppolo's been playing this year, but you kind of wonder about next year. If the 49ers take off and play really well the rest of the year and make a deep playoff run and Garoppolo plays well, I mean, they're back where they started next year.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
And, when you invest so much in a player like the 49ers did with Trey Lance, 2 number 1 draft choices and a number 3, it's nearly embarrassing to the organization if he doesn't become the heir apparent. That means you're acknowledging you made a mistake and you gave away so much in return. So it's like the organization, the GM, the coach, they're kind of rooting for Trey Lance. They want to give him every opportunity. But the reality is, you have to play your best guy. And with Jimmy Garoppolo, he might not be a perfect quarterback for the 49ers, but he might be a better option than Trey Lance going forward. I mean, who knows?
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Trey's still got a few years with the 49ers before we, make a judgment on him. He's a rookie. So, and he's playing on a team that's good and you don't want to lose. So,
well, he hasn't been, but they've been going with Garoppolo. But
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You don't want to throw him in there and lose a game when you have a shot to make the playoffs. Last game, we got to make a prediction, Jack. Saints against Buffalo. It looks to me like Josh Allen is becoming the Josh Allen of about 2 to 3 years ago, because Buffalo is not playing team football right now. And Josh Allen is starting to have accuracy problems again. Were we right this year? Well, was I right this year? I'm not sure if you agree with me. Did Buffalo even out? Are they done? Are they done growing? Last year? Was that their big punch, Jack?
I'm going to tell you, I never would have thought Buffalo would be sitting at 6-4, but I think they're going to start surging. They'll get it together. It was an embarrassment, the way they played against the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, giving up 41 points, and it's Alvin Kamara's out for the Saints. That's their big weapon. The Saints certainly aren't going to beat you at quarterback. I mean, they have issues at wide receiver. I just don't see them mounting many points against the Buffalo defense, who was embarrassed last week, who really do have one of the best defenses in the league if you want to forget about last week. I see it being a nice bounce-back game for Josh Allen, and Singletary should have a good game, running the ball against the Saints. And I'm going to go with Buffalo 27-13. Okay, Buffalo is favored by 6 points. I would give the 6 points and take
I'm
Buffalo.
with you there. We agree on one of the 3 games. Happy Thanksgiving, Matt. Glad you popped in real quick. We'll be getting back together soon. Trust me on that. Matt.
Happy Thanksgiving, Matthew.
Yeah, Matt coaching I think they have combined teams, and now they're just the Falcons. But he was with the Tar Heels, and he did coach off season. So Matt, we'll definitely talk very soon about getting you guys back up and coming on Northeast Streaming Sports again. Don't worry about that. That's for sure. But happy Thanksgiving to you and the team and your family and everybody over there with the Falcons and with the Tar Heels. Loved having you guys on this year. So folks, we're closing it out today. It should be interesting, Jack. I don't know how much I would imagine I'm going to have the TV on for Detroit and Chicago just because I will. I don't know how much. If it's a good game, sometimes 2 bad teams play a good game. It happens. It happens once in a while. Maybe we'll get lucky this year and we get a good game. I'm definitely looking forward to the Raiders and Cowboys and a little bit to the Saints and the Bills. I don't know how late I'll stay up for that game tonight because I got to go to work tomorrow. But I'm going to catch as much as I can. I think it'll be an interesting game. It's Buffalo. If Buffalo doesn't beat the Saints, Jack.
Both of them need a win really, really badly. Listen, despite what Jim Jeffcoat's saying about how badly the Cowboys need a win, the Cowboys can afford a loss and they can still be fine, for the season. But the Bills, the way the Patriots are playing, the Bills might wind up having to battle for a wild card if they don't get it together.
I agree. And the Cowboys play like 4 of the last game against NFC East teams who they should beat. So they should be fine.
Saints are barely hanging on. So this is a crucial game for them.
I love their coach, though. I do love Peyton. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Folks, thanks for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving again to you and yours. Jack, have a great time at Thanksgiving. We'll see you back here tomorrow, folks, with our weekend preview with some great guests. Saturday debate show, our big football show on Sunday. Again, folks, thanks for tuning in. I really and happy Thanksgiving to you too, David. Love having you guys come on board, taking time and coming on board on our show today. Have a great Thanksgiving, folks.